Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Hardware Podcast and happy week 3. Hard to believe we're already here because we're going to be more than 20% through the season by the time we wrap up our college football Saturdays. Which is bittersweet, right? Where it's sweet in the sense that we're getting to the interesting, the real meaty part of the season, right? Conference play is going to be starting up this week in a lot of conferences. We're trying to, but we're also finding out who teams really are. But it's obviously bitter in that, man, it flies by every single year. It always shocks me. But Omar, how's your week been? What are your plans for week 3? You excited for this?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely am. I mean, any week of college football is a good week, especially with what shaked out last. Without with what shaked out last week. I mean, like even we kind of thought last week was a light slate, but there were some upsets that kind of showed up on the radar, and we're gonna kind of talk about too in terms of our players of the week and games of the week. That made us aware of some teams that we wouldn't have been otherwise. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited too across all levels of football. I know D3 starting up earlier this week did a preview for the NESCAC with our old friend Brennan Costa from Bates. I mean, so just at all levels, football is just in full swing.
Absolutely. No, I am excited for this week. We can hop right in, recapping week 2 and our players of the week to watch. Omar, who was an offensive guy that stood out to you last week?
So for me, I have co-honorees for my players this week. I got Lucas Stanzani and Ethan Greenwood for Long Island, and man, those two quarterbacks. Of course, the old cliche is if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. But Long Island makes it work, or they made it work in their second week because they had two talented quarterbacks, and they beat Eastern Michigan for their first FBS win ever, and just the third for the Northeast Conference as a whole ever. Stanzani had a really insane game, 143 passing yards and 12-18 passing, 10 carries for 67 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and a 74-yard catch from good measure. The 74-yard catch came from his quarterback, his fellow quarterback, Ethan Greenwood, who completed three of five passes for 105 yards, carried the ball 7 times for 91 yards and a pair of touchdowns, including a 65-yarder. I mean, both these quarterbacks are just great dual threats. Ethan Greenwood is a really amazing runner. I mean, generational runner at the quarterback position. Was second team all NEC last year. And I mean, Long Island looks like a force to be reckoned with in the Northeast Conference. And it's the fact too. It's like I don't know how bad Eastern Michigan's going to be, but we know that Eastern Michigan is a very consistent program under Chris
Yeah.
Creighton.
Yeah.
So
If you had told me that, if you had known LIU's schedule, then obviously you know who it is. But if you said LIU is going to be like a MAC team, right? You would not. Eastern Michigan would not be the first team on that list.
no,
Not even. They might actually be the last team on that list that you would
yeah.
expect just because of the consistency that you typically see out of that program. So yeah, no, I was just as surprised as you are. I watched more Long Island football in week 1 than I had my entire life combined in their 55-0 loss against Florida. But seems like we were beaten up a little bit on a team that I thought was terrible, and then they look good there, and then we look terrible week 2. So who knows? Now I'm just confused on
Yeah, it's a
what I was
resume
watching
win.
week 1.
It's a resume win for you guys now.
it's a it's a resume win. Yeah,
It's a
I'm sure
resume win for the Gators.
someone call Heather Dinich and see how this helps. Was USF a quality loss, and then the margin of victory is enough against a Long Island team that yeah. Now we're just being dumb. But Omar, my offensive player of the week, and one player that I'm going to be keeping my eye on for the rest of the year is Cam Cook, running back from Jacksonville State. In a 34-24 win, he had 29 rushes for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is coming off of a 7-point loss to UCF, where he had led Jackson State in rushing and receiving yards. Liberty knew that they were going to be running the ball, right? The Gamecocks had 52 passing yards, and no other player had more than 10 carries. They scored 34 points. That's insane. The pass game was non-existent. It wasn't running back by committee. Cam Cook was literally carrying the team on his back. Now in 2024, he was at TCU at the time. He led the Horned Frogs in rushing with 460 yards on 119 carries with 9 touchdowns. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He was actually ranked as the 23rd running back in the country in his class. So this is not, he's not a nobody. He's not coming out from nowhere. He's a like decently high profile recruit, led Power 4 team in rushing last year. And then now transferred to Jackson State. I couldn't find a clear reason why. Some people said NIL, some people just to change the pace. Couldn't get a clear answer. But this year, I mean, now Jackson State is really a team that I'm much more optimistic about than I was to start the year. They had a 10-point loss to start the year, but then they had the win over Liberty, like I said, who is considered the Conference USA favorite. In fact, Liberty was the Conference USA favorite, and then Jackson State, even though they were, in the conference championship game last year, they had the 5th best betting odds to win the conference, so they weren't really considered to be in play as much. And also a positive, their schedule looks a lot less daunting than it did maybe to start the year. Southern Miss, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, like they've had losses now of some of their future opponents that were either surprising or a little bit more severe than expected. So if they can keep this ground game going, Jackson State might be the new favorite to win Conference USA. I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts, Omar. But
yeah, I think Jacksonville State showed themselves as a true favorite to win Conference USA. I mean, I know it's still early, but we kind of feel like the conference runs through Liberty, and they looked really good against Liberty. Too. And the game against UCF too, like that also was kind of revealing in a way where Jacksonville State looks like they hadn't skipped a beat despite losing Tyler Huff last year and Rich Rod to West Virginia. So, I mean, I do think that Jacksonville State looks like the favorite. The thing with Conference USA is just like 2 through 10 right now. It's just so hard to predict because it's just such a random league.
It is an odd assortment of programs for sure. It's it's the landing spot, like the welcoming for anyone making the jump from the FCS to FBS. It just creates this kind of zany combination. But yeah, no, Cam Cook, fantastic week 2. It played great in week 1 as well. If Jacksonville State does end up going again to the CUSA championship, it will not be without Cam Cook. So.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, yeah, they looked swell so far this year, especially against Liberty. I mean, and it might be time to ask too, like whether Liberty's window is over in Conference USA. No, it might be a slight exaggeration.
Seems like it. Yeah, seems like it. Did you jinx it? You went to that Fiesta Bowl, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
That's right.
Did you? I mean, is that their shoe throwing moment that just everything turned for Liberty?
I don't think everything turned. I think the shoe throwing moment was a Kennesaw State game. To be honest with you, that was, yeah. That I'm still.
I was just trying to find a way to connect us. Like hardware was on site for it. No, yeah.
That's true.
I'll stop. Omar, who was your defensive player of the week from week 2?
So for my defensive player of the week for week 2, I'm staying in Conference USA. Surprisingly, we're on the same page on that. I got Ezra Christensen for New Mexico State in their upset win, if you want to call it an upset against Tulsa. I mean, it's a win against the team from the American and an original member of the American Conference, not one of the recent additions in Tulsa. They won 21-14, but Ezra Christensen was just so disruptive on the defensive line. He had 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a pass deflection against the Golden Hurricane. I mean, New Mexico State is now 2-1. They looked kind of not good against Bryant in week 1, but that's a Bryant team that gave or they just beat UMass. So Bryant isn't a bad program, and they still won by 16 points. So I mean, this defense looks good. They're allowing 9.5 points per game in 2 games, and if they get a huge win against Louisiana Tech, they'll be 2-1. Or if they beat New Mexico the next week, they'll be 2-2. Entering like later on in their conference stretch. And on their Conference USA schedule, they have an 0-3 Sam Houston squad. They have Missouri State in their first year in the league. They got Kennesaw State and Middle Tennessee all on the schedule. So this is a team that you might want to think, like, if they beat either New Mexico or Louisiana Tech, like this could be a team in a bowl game. And it's just amazing the way that New Mexico State has become a team where we can consistently kind of say, like, hey, they're in the mix for a bowl after not going to a bowl for 57 years. Yeah, for 56 years. So I mean, Ezra Christensen's a big part of that, and that defense looks really good so far.
I'm really glad that on our conference preview episode before the season started, we almost forgot to preview Conference USA. And so at the very end, no one listened to me talk about how good Sam Houston's going to be this year and how they're going to go to the conference championship game. No one listened to that, hopefully. So because no one is more surprised than me at them starting 0-3. So for my defensive player of the week last week, I'm going to go with Luke Banbury, a linebacker from William and Mary. If the name sounds familiar, he is actually a graduate transfer from Cornell, where he led the Ivy League in tackles last year. Transferred to William and Mary after graduating from Cornell. And then in week 1, he had a career high 14 tackles. Then last week, he topped that with 16 tackles and 3 pass breakups and a thrilling 28-27 win over Maine. He's also 5th in the country in passes defended. So this isn't it wasn't a one-off necessarily, but 3 for a linebacker is fantastic. So this week they play at Virginia in what you could call maybe a rivalry dating back to 1908, Omar. William and Mary has not beaten Virginia since 2009. However, the game's been played so long. I don't know. Can we call this a rivalry?
I mean, I think you can, in the same way that you can consider, Colgate Syracuse a rivalry, where it's like there's a history, they're in-state rivals. It's not what it once was, but there's a history behind it. History is
kind of like Arkansas State, Arkansas. I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
right? If you saw Sam Pittman's comments, but
yeah, I know the governor's trying to get involved with that one. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll just leave it there.
Sarcasm is not like that at all. These two teams actually have a very long history, but yeah, no, Luke Banbury, a name to watch. Actually, an NFL one of the top FCS NFL prospects for this year. So good for him going to a school like William and Mary and just absolutely dominating. Even though he dominated Ivy League play last year as well. You both saw him play a couple Friday nights. So I didn't realize what we were watching. So. Omar, who was your HBCU player of the week from last week?
Yeah, so just one more note on Banbury really quick. I mean, William Mary's got a very linebacker friendly system. I mean, John Pius in 2022, 2023 was just one of the best linebackers in the country. So it's good to see them filling that gap. I mean, a lot of Ivy League guys are just transferring out, using that extra year of eligibility from COVID. I want to say that Banbury is a COVID guy, that kind of makes sense.
We're gonna be saying that for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's kind of dying out, but yeah, I mean, it's just great because William Mary, they're moving to the Patriot League as well, so the Patriot League is going to have insane depth of programs in the coming years, so it'll be exciting to see. So for my HBCU player of the week, I have Matthew Cooks at linebacker for Texas Southern. He had 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass breakup against Cal, despite the Tigers losing 35-3. But the Tigers were only down 11-0 at halftime, and that alone is just a great showing for a team from the SWAC. I mean, despite with all the resources that they lack, the talent disadvantage as well. I mean, to be down 11-0 to a team that blew out Oregon State the prior week is a good achievement. And Cooks helps lead a defense that held Jaren Kiawe Sagapolotelli to a quarterback rating, to a QBR of 18.3, a 46-point decrease from what he had against Oregon State. And so there's not really a standout team so far in the SWAC West. I mean, we always talk, whenever people think about the SWAC, they think about Jackson State, they think about Alabama State, Florida A&M, they think about the East, but the West is usually always wide open. But even more so this year, I feel like, I mean, Prairie View didn't look that good in non-conference play. Southern they've looked all right so far. I mean,
Southern is another one of those teams that I think we're a little disappointed in what the performance has been versus what the expectations were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Southern hasn't been great, honestly. They're 1-2 right now, I want to say. And so far, Texas Southern has lost to Prairie View in the Labor Day Classic in a last-minute finish. They weren't blown out, so they just have to be, as it stands right now, they just need some help from Prairie View. But the SWAC West looks very wide open, and Texas Southern's defense could continue to be a problem in the SWAC.
No, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to keep our eye on. Obviously, Yeah, no, it'll be good. Where is it a linebacker trend, man? Because my HBCU player of the week was also a linebacker. I usually feel like one of us goes on offense at least, but my guy is Trevon French, a linebacker from Edward Waters. 6'3", 195 in a 46-14 win over Miles College. He had 7 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and a pass breakup. And then the week before at Savannah State, he had 2 tackles for loss. So he actually ranks first in the SIAC in tackles for loss and 4th in solo tackles. This week, he actually plays in the inaugural Unity City Classic in Jacksonville against Virginia Union. So that'll be fun if you're in Northwest Jacksonville on Saturday with no plans. That's definitely the thing to do in town. So, but no, Trevon French. And then we saw, we're recording this pretty early on Friday morning. We saw a fantastic SIAC game that in our week 4 preview / week 3 recap, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about. So on ESPN2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I don't really watch Thursday night football in general, but yeah, I didn't watch Wake Forest NC State. Like I gave the full.
You didn't see the food truck on fire, the smoke from that?
No, I heard about it. But I gave a Clark Atlanta, Florida, Fort Valley State the full screen treatment, and honestly, like listening to Tiffany Green and Jay Walker, it's a fun broadcast to listen to. Honestly, like they have great rapport. But yeah, it was a really good game. I mean, came down to the final.
They do, but nothing beats like Al Michaels just ranting during a blowout game on a Thursday night. So I had the 2 screens set up. I had TNF on Prime on the big one, and then I was flipping back and forth between the Clark Atlanta game and the NC State Wake Forest game. So
yeah,
what a finish!
Yeah, amazing finish. Honestly, yeah. I mean, and the quarterback play was really on point too.
Fantastic. So. Clark Atlanta's quarterback. I can't remember his name from last night, but played fantastic. We will move on to previewing our week 3 games. Omar, what's your first game of the week that we could watch? Oh, before this, because I don't think either of us have this game, and this is a big game. Can you tell the working man, just the guy who does not have the $139 a month YouTube TV, like spectacular, how we can watch the Miami USF game on the CW?
You honestly just have to watch with an antenna. That's it. That's the only way. That's quite literally the only way.
So we can go and buy an antenna at our local Radio Shack, because I'm sure we all have one.
Yeah.
And watch the CW.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's it. Yeah,
because there's a lot of controversy right now because no one was expecting this to be an entertaining game. And there's nothing more. It would make my week if I could watch USF beat up Carson Beck. So
I don't know. For you, it's kind of a lose-lose situation since you guys just lost to USF and they're playing Miami. So
I have so much family that went to USF that like I hated them on Saturday, but like otherwise, like most of the time I like them. I like them as the little brother that's not actually a threat, but like you really want to see succeed, not like actually like ruin our success. But no, okay. So that's that. You heard it first from Omar. You can go and buy an antenna and watch USF Miami like we're in the 90s. But Omar, what's your first game of the week to watch where you don't have to buy an antenna necessarily?
So my first game of the week to watch is Erskine at Presbyterian. In 1959, the Presbyterian Blue Hose beat Wofford and Furman on their way to an appearance in their only bowl game ever, the Tangerine Bowl that year. In 2025, the Blue Hose beat Wofford and Furman to start off their season. So they're 2-0 for the first time since 2005 and looking for just their second 3-0 start since 1979. This team looks like the front runner in the Pioneer Football League. They have never appeared in the FCS playoffs before. Colin Hurst is an early Walter Payton Award candidate. He threw 5 touchdowns against Fordham. The interceptions are a bit of a concern and could get him in trouble. He had 3 interceptions against the Paladins in that thrilling overtime win. Presbyterian leads this rivalry between Erskine with a 32-1 record against the Flying Fleet of Erskine. So honestly, too, just a side note, just a great battle of nicknames. Flying Fleet versus the Blue Hose, but Erskine has not beat Presbyterian in this rivalry since FDR's second term in 1937. I expect Presbyterian to take care of business, but if Conhurst makes a few mistakes like he did against Furman, then Erskine might stick around for a while in this one. But man, a 3-0 Presbyterian deserves to be ranked. I ranked Presbyterian 25 in my FCS poll last week. What is it going to take for this team to be taken seriously? You know, so I wonder if there'll be some style points in play against Erskine, against D2 Erskine.
Certainly some motivation for sure, right? If you're not ranked after the performance you've had so far. Now, I do have a question. Have any of the teams that they've beaten moved up 2 spots in a voters poll after the loss to what's considered an inferior team?
Honestly, there's some funny stuff happening with FCS poll. There's no poll transparency, so just an advertisement for redshirt.
It's really the Wild West.
Yeah, it's an advertisement for Redshirt Sports where we have every single balloter's poll out there, including my own. So my poll that I vote for on Redshirt Sports is the poll that I use for the official FCS poll. So just give a brief shout out and a plug for, if you want transparency in voting, go to redshirtsports.xyz for our poll. But yeah, like, it's not transparent, but I wouldn't doubt it if Furman moved up in the poll.
What Omar is saying is, if your favorite FCS school does not make the FCS playoffs, you can go to Redshirt Sports, look up if Omar put them in the poll, and blame Omar. You can hold him personally accountable if your favorite school did not make the playoffs. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, you can. I actually misspoke though. Sorry, I misspoke. I got excited. But so Presbyterian beat Mercer week 1, not Wofford. I just wanted to tie in the whole Tangerine Bowl thing, but they did.
Why do you have to do Macon, Georgia like that, man?
Yeah.
My first game of the week to watch, I'm gonna go with Duke at Tulane. With NIL now, I feel like some of these games have become like former team name revenge game instead of it being the players. Like, this isn't the Darian Mensa revenge game. This is like the Tulane revenge game, right? But anyways, if you listen to our conference preview, our conference championship preview, you probably knew that this one was coming from me. Darian Mensa so far at Duke is the second in the nation in passing yards per game, despite 7% of his passes being dropped. So if you're watching him, one thing that's interesting with him, if you're watching him throw outside the numbers to the left, in between the numbers, so AKA not to the right of the numbers, right? When he's throwing, he's 39 for 45, which is just spectacular. When throwing to the left and to the middle, and then he's 18 for 26 when throwing to the far right side of the field. So something I'm sure Duke will, or Tulane, his former team, will keep in mind when game planning. His replacement, though, that Tulane was able to get was Jacob Retzloff, which, you know, how he got to Tulane is a story for a different time, but he does have big time Power 4 experience. The stats aren't going to blow you away with Retzloff, but he is Tulane's leading rusher as well, with 177 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So for Tulane's defense, their front 7 and their pass rush is really the strength of this defense. Their secondary played immensely better in week 1 over week 2. If you need a quick antidote for how Tulane's secondary is, I give you our cornerback, Jaheim Johnson. He allowed 29 yards on 10 targets. Spectacular performance in what I believe is his first start. And then in week 2, he gave up a 65-yard touchdown. So, like, you don't know which Tulane secondary you're going to get when going against their former quarterback. So now, I'm sure there'll be lots of talk as far as like who has the more advantage with these two, with Duke's quarterback and Tulane's program having obviously been synonymous for the past couple of years. But no, I'm just excited to see who actually wins on this, right? If Tulane's gonna know what his weaknesses are and exploit them, or if or vice versa, right? So we'll find out on Saturday.
Yes, I mean that one has been probably circled on everyone's calendar since before the season with Darian Mensa. But man, what a quarterback battle, like you said, with Retzloff now.
If you follow like college football in the offseason, I'm sure this was on your calendar, right? Like, or you knew that this game was coming.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
you muted yourself.
With Retzloff in the fold too, it's a great, like, it's an amazing quarterback matchup. Tulane, though, it does seem like that they do have a slip up against a group of 5 opponent the past couple of years. Like last year, they had just immense troubles defending against Louisiana, but that was a really good Louisiana team. I mean, we didn't know that at the time that they were going to be in the Sun Belt Championship, but that was a really good Louisiana team. South Alabama could be the same story, but yeah, Tulane just needs to shore up that the pass defense. Honestly, they did look really good against Preston Stone and Northwestern though, so I do have optimism that I think they picked off Preston Stone 4 times against Northwestern, proving that I want to say it's the scheme that's the issue for Northwestern, not the play. Honestly, because Preston Stone's a guy. He's a dude. So, um, I guess going on to my second game of the week to watch. So I have the HBCU NY Classic again between Howard and Morehouse at MetLife Stadium. This game is free from the hold of CNBC and is now syndicated on plenty of local stations across the country and live for free on HBCU Go, which you can just type in HBCU Go, watch games for free live there. There's also a Roku app, so it's highly accessible. But Howard has dominated this rivalry recently since it came back on a yearly basis in 2022. They've won all 3 meetings at MetLife in this classic. Sorry, yeah, they've won all 3 meetings of this rivalry of this classic, and they've struggled moving the ball, I guess. But this year they've struggled moving the ball, and they've had 16 points in their first 2 games. The passing game is concerning, particularly. Tyreek Starks has 179 yards on 42 pass attempts. And last week, you can give him the benefit of the doubt. He was playing against Temple. You can give him the benefit of the doubt for playing against Temple. I mean, just with the talent gap there and how good Temple looks. But man, like I'd say if there was a year for Morehouse to beat Howard, it would be this year when Howard really isn't kind of boat racing them, really isn't starting strong out of the gates and not scoring many points. But yeah, the big question, of course, is is this the year that Morehouse beats Howard? Like Morehouse will be searching for their first win against the Bison since 1994. They've lost 10 straight. I think they have the defense to cause trouble or they have the talent on defense to cause trouble against Howard. Their middle linebacker, Sean Johnson, he's going to be busy. He had 17 tackles against Johnson C. Smith. And of course, I mean, Morehouse lost to Johnson C. Smith 45-9, but that's a really excusable loss, and it looks like a really excusable loss because Johnson C. Smith just beat Valdosta State, which you're well aware. But yeah, Valdosta State being the national power that they are, and I think they appeared in the Division II championship game last year. So, I mean, this might be the year. I think this is the best year for Morehouse to beat Howard in a long time. So that one is always fun to watch, but there is that added kind of will they, won't they element to it this year.
Just real quick to go back to the Tulane Duke game. Duke has played with their food with some Group of 5 opponents, but the last loss to the Group of 5 was 2021 Charlotte, which I think a lot of us remember that game. That was great. That was week 1, right? That was crazy.
I was actually there.
My second game of the week to watch, Rhode Island at Holy Cross. So Rhode Island is ranked 6th in the country. Holy Cross is unranked after starting off 0-2. But Rhode Island, they are really a pass-happy offense. Quarterback Devin Farrell is 4th in the FCS in passing yards. They have a wide receiver in Abora Kwateng. I'm sure I'm botching that, with apologies to Bora, but he's averaging 25 yards a reception, which is just insane. Now, like I said, Holy Cross started off 0-2, but they're 2 narrow losses, including a 2-point loss to Northern Illinois, where they actually, with 4 minutes left, got a 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown that it looked like they could actually win the thing, and then they weren't able to get the ball back and kick a field goal. But and then Holy Cross also has the 8th best third down defense in the FCS. So if they can get stops on first and second down, then you like their chances there. Now, Rhode Island is clearly the better team, right? But if they get caught kind of toying around, in my opinion, I think this is the wrong team to be testing. Holy Cross knows how to keep it close. Maybe they can steal a win at the end. Chewing up time, my only concern, though, for Holy Cross, chewing up time of possession is usually like a good game plan to get an upset. But I don't think that's going to work against an offense like Rhode Island, where they can just score so quickly. They're already used to losing the time of possession battle just because of how much they pass the ball. So Rhode Island at Holy Cross, it's a road game. See if there's an upset to be had in the top 10 of the FCS poll.
Yeah, I mean, of course, these Northeast teams really match up well. I feel like Holy Cross too. I feel like a lot of people have also forgotten about them. I know I haven't ranked Holy Cross yet in my ballot because Lehigh is incredibly talented, and then Richmond as well, coming from the Coastal Athletic Association, is in the Patriot League now. So there are a lot of talented teams in the Patriot League. But yeah, like you said, I mean, Rhode Island had a great start to the year, but Holy Cross, I think, really turned a lot of heads in the Northern Illinois game because I was expecting Northern Illinois to win by a couple scores just with how great of a coach Tom Hammock is, and just the way. Yeah, like Holy Cross could definitely shock Rhode Island. I mean, there've been crazier upsets in the past couple of years. I mean, this past week alone, I mean, we had Lamar beat South Dakota out of nowhere, like absolutely
Yeah,
no one saw that
true.
coming. And those are two teams from with a wider gap between conferences than the Patriot League and the Coastal Athletic Association. So, will be very interesting to see. That one is at So that one is at Fit and Fields. That one's going to be on ESPN Plus. It's not on Flow Sports, the dreaded Flow Sports. Even though they are offering a free game each week, and this week that free game is Hampton versus North Carolina A&T. So that's good. But for my last game of the week, I have a rematch of the 1968 or the 1967 Rose Bowl, excuse me. And I mean USC versus Purdue. Like I know it's Missouri State and Georgia Southern, but man, like USC's been putting up so many points early on in the season. Like it's actually crazy. Like they are averaging. I mean, if I'm doing the quick math right, that's an average of 66 points per game. Yeah, it's an average of 66 points per game. Like Jaden Mayava, might be time to start, starting up the Jaden Mayava Heisman train. They have this game on CBS against Purdue. Like Purdue's 2-0 too. I know people forgot about Purdue after just the dreaded tenure that they had with Ryan Walters. But I mean, a 42-3, or sorry, a 34-17 win over Southern Illinois, a good Missouri Valley Conference team. They beat Ball State in week one, 31-0. So this could be interesting. I mean, I just wanted to highlight just the 1967 Rose Bowl where Purdue went to one of two Rose Bowls in their existence. Bob Greasy was a quarterback. They had Leroy Keys back in 1967, and I think they beat USC 14-3 in that Rose Bowl. I'm going to verify that really quick, but I mean, it'll be great. I mean, I think that's just kind of like the odd thing about the Big Ten now. They beat USC 14-13. That's just the odd thing about the Big Ten, where it's like you have so many Rose Bowl rematches that it's like that.
We need some more Rose Bowl anniversary uniforms like Michigan did last. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. But yeah, no, Purdue, everyone knows no one's a bigger Barry Odom believer than me and their new head coach coming over from UNLV. So really like the direction that Purdue is trending. And I think last week, my offensive player of the week was Purdue's quarterback, transferred to UNC, then transferred back in the second portal window to Purdue. So a lot of stuff to be excited about if you're a Purdue fan, which you couldn't say that a year ago. So my last game of the week to watch, you can probably guess from my background if you're watching on YouTube, the 108th edition of the Backyard Brawl, Pitt at West Virginia. Now, I will say we were robbed of a Backyard Brawl college game day by Ohio. That Reese Davis did confirm that was the plan until they had to pivot to Georgia at Tennessee because the Bobcats kind of ruined that. But man, everything that makes college football great is why this rivalry is great. This week, so two quotes from this week. I could break down the X's and O's, but this is going to be way more provide way more context. So Pitt's athletic director said earlier this week, quote, "I love that they hate us with a passion. It's fun for us to be in their kitchen a lot. I don't mind occupying space in their heads," which is the administrative way of saying rent free, right? And then Rich Rodriguez, obviously coming back after a long time away as the head coach at West Virginia, said earlier this week there will be 60,000 people in the stands, another 15,000 in the parking lot drinking moonshine, wishing that they could come in, but not really remembering why they came, right? So, I mean, the Backyard Brawl, one of the most fun rivalries in college football. I compare it to almost the Egg Bowl, right? Where like the teams aren't always the best, but something crazy is going to happen, right? Something why, and when one team is really good, that's when the craziest nonsense takes place. So, yeah, very excited for this. I don't know. I think with Rich Rod coming back and kind of reopening a previous chapter of the Backyard Brawl, I feel like, we might be able to say, 2007, 2022, 2025 best Backyard Brawls of the last 20 years, right? So I don't know. That's what I'm hoping. Now, granted, there was an 11-year hiatus in that that 20-year span, but still, I'm very excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Rodriguez's last appearance in the Backyard Ball was the famous 13-9 game, too. I can just imagine how game day would have been with McAfee. Um, you know,
Oh
um,
man,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know, we were robbed of that. It's I didn't even think about that. I would love as much attention on this game because this game is really, like I said, it's everything that makes college football great. So very excited. I think it's a 3:30 game on ESPN. So but yeah, very excited for this. So, Omar, I'm going to give a quick bonus player of the week to watch. I'm going to go with Trayvon Sanders, a slot wide receiver from Colgate. Despite being on an 0-2 team, that's why I can't really justify giving it a game of the week to watch. He leads the FCS in targets, receptions, and he's tied for touchdowns. He has 11 explosive plays through just 2 weeks. They play, if you're listening on Friday when we're recording this, they play Syracuse tonight on a team that plays a lot of man-to-man coverage. That's what Frank Brown likes to do. So that could really allow an opportunity for Sanders to shine. So just something, if you're watching a little Friday Night Football, something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I know that one's going to be probably the main watching interest for me. Honestly, just loving Northeast football and loving the history of it. Like Colgate, Syracuse. I mean, there's so much history with Colgate. I mean, focusing more on them. Like in 1932, they had the famous undefeated, untied, unscored upon, and uninvited team, meaning they went undefeated 9-0. They waited for the Rose Bowl invitation, but sadly, that Rose Bowl invitation never came. I'll never forsake an opportunity to mention that team. But just a lot of history, seeing these games come back, and you never know. Honestly, you never know if they'll be competitive. I know a couple years ago, Holy Cross lost a heartbreaker to Boston College in another rendition of that great Northeast rivalry. There's even a book about it, a book that's on my bookshelf called A Farewell to Glory about Holy Cross Boston College. So these rivalries still mean something. I mean, Colgate Q should be good, but man, Colgate's been blown out the past few editions of this rivalry. But hopefully they'll be competitive this time.
Well, since we're talking Friday Night Football and we're at the very end of the show, does Kansas State get over the hump and beat Arizona tonight?
No, I don't. I don't think so. To be honest with you,
Man,
I don't think
wow,
so.
wow. If you lose that, if you had told me, if you had told me that I would be asking that question entering this game, I would be like, "What? How good is Arizona? Like,
Yeah,
what went wrong?"
yeah,
Arizona's not that good. Don't get me wrong, but Kansas State just, I mean, they lost to a team that lost to Tarleton State. So
yeah, yeah. But college football is a crazy thing. You know,
college
one
football
week
is
at
a
a
crazy
time.
thing.
You know.
Omar, thank you, my man. Very excited for a week three of college football, and yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, that's it for me too. So hopefully you guys enjoy this week. Get time to watch some college football. And until next time, everyone, peace, love, and soul in the bird popper. Lord bless you and keep you. Make space shine upon you. Be gracious to you.